Let's start with the heists that were almost perfect and slowly work our way towards the ones that made some thieves multimillionaires. Number 7. The Plymouth Mail Truck Robbery. On August 14th, 1962, two men dressed as Massachusetts state troopers flagged down a mail truck on Route 3 near Plymouth. The truck was loaded with $1.5 million in cash, bound for the Boston Federal Reserve. In a matter of minutes, the robbers brandished submachine guns, tied up the driver and guard, and drove the truck themselves, dumping bundles of cash at multiple secret drop-off points. In broad daylight, the duo vanished with the entire haul, leaving investigators with virtually no clues. Postal inspectors and the FBI spent 5 years scouring New England for leads, even dangling huge rewards, but nothing panned out. As the statute of limitations neared, a federal grand jury indicted 4 men and 1 woman. One suspect disappeared before trial, and the others were acquitted. In the end, the case went cold and the $1.5 million was never recovered. In today's dollars, that sum would be on the order of $15 to $16 million. This flawlessly planned highway ambush remains a complete mystery. Number 6. The Baker Street Bank Burglary. In London on September 11th, 1971, a gang pulled off a burglary worthy of Sherlock Holmes. For weeks, they secretly dug a 40-foot tunnel from a rented leather goods store into the vault of Lloyd's Bank on Baker Street. One quiet weekend night, they emerged beneath the vault and got to work. Over 48 hours, the thieves used a thermal lance and then gelignite to blast into the steel-reinforced vault. Inside, they emptied 268 safe deposit boxes, making off with an estimated 1.25 to 3 million pounds in cash, jewels, and bonds. Police later recovered only about 231,000 pounds. Astonishingly, the heist triggered no alarms. It wasn't until a local radio hobbyist overheard the criminals' walkie-talkie chatter that the police even knew something was wrong. By the time officers arrived, the culprits had melted back into the London night. The police eventually caught several suspects, who were famously portrayed in the film The Bank Job, but most of the stolen loot was never found. Number 5. The Great Train Robbery. In the early hours of August 8th, 1963, a gang of at least a dozen robbers pulled off what was then the largest heist in British history. On a stretch of track in Buckinghamshire, they tampered with the signal of the Glasgow to London mail train, forcing it to stop. The bandits jumped aboard, overpowered the crew, and uncoupled the first mail car. In only 15 minutes, they loaded 125 sacks of banknotes, about 2.6 million pounds, roughly $7.3 million at the time, into their vehicles and sped away. The robbery was later called the biggest and boldest train robbery in British history. The gang made a clean escape to a nearby farm and divided the loot. Police reacted quickly. Within weeks, most of the robbers were arrested and ultimately jailed. The thieves had left one man, nicknamed the Ulsterman, unidentified, and he vanished without a trace. Despite the arrests, almost all of the stolen cash was never recovered. The Great Train Robbery was audacious, executed at blinding speed, and remains legendary for its scale. Number 4. The Lufthansa Heist image. The getaway van used in the Lufthansa Heist, shown soon after the robbery. On December 11th, 1978, a mob-organized gang burst into Lufthansa's cargo terminal at JFK Airport, New York. The crew consisted of a Lufthansa insider and 8 armed men. In just over an hour, they locked 6 air freight employees in a vault and loaded $5.8 million in cash, plus $800,000 in jewelry into their vehicles. Not a shot was fired. The job was executed with military precision. It was instantly the largest single robbery ever carried out on American soil. But the aftermath turned deadly. Gang boss Jimmy the Gent Burke panicked when a getaway van was found parked at a member's home. He ordered the execution of nearly all accomplices to cover his tracks. In the ensuing months, multiple participants were gunned down or disappeared. Only Louis Werner, the Lufthansa employee who set them up, ever went to prison on unrelated charges, and only a fraction of the loot was ever recovered. The Lufthansa heist was flawless to execute, but it triggered a savage series of killings, making its bloody aftermath almost as infamous as the theft itself. Number 3. The Banco Central Burglary. One of the largest cash robberies in history took place in the early morning of August 6, 2005, in Fortaleza, Brazil. A crew of thieves rented a 4-story house a block from the central bank branch and dug a tunnel straight under the street to the bank's vault. Over several months, they removed 78 meters of sand and laid wooden supports. By Sunday night, they were in. After disabling electric cables and drilling through the vault floor, the gang spent hours loading pallets of unmarked bills into waiting trucks. In total, they walked away with about 160 million Brazilian real in cash, roughly $70 million at the time. The mastermind had studied police shifts and city maps with obsession, orchestrating a heist straight out of a movie. But the police response was swift. Within a few weeks, dozens of suspects were arrested. As of year's end, only 8 of the roughly 25 people thought involved had been caught, and investigators recovered a mere 20 million Brazilian reais. Rumors persist that some gang members were kidnapped or killed by rival criminals eager to grab the haul. Whatever the truth, most of the money vanished. This well-planned tunnel robbery netted a fortune, yet the culprits, fate of the cash, and many of the perpetrators remain unknown. Number 2. The Antwerp Diamond Center Heist. On February 16, 2003, a hand-picked team of Italian thieves pulled off a heist so bold it was called the Heist of the Century. Mastermind Leonardo Notarbartolo had posed as a diamond merchant and studied the building's security for years. Late on a Sunday evening, he and 7 accomplices bypassed 2 heavy security gates and burst into the Antwerp Diamond Center. They quietly dialed in the vault combination, obtained via a hidden camera weeks earlier, and disabled the infrared and motion sensors with clever tricks, like spraying the beams with glycerin. In the darkness, the crew systematically opened the massive vault. 2 floors underground, they emptied more than 160 safety deposit boxes. When police arrived hours later, the vault door was ajar and over $100 million in diamonds, gold, and cash was gone. The robbery was executed so cleanly that it wasn't discovered until Monday morning. Notarbartolo later boasted it was the heist of the century. Investigators eventually tracked down Notarbartolo and some accomplices. He received a 10-year sentence. But the loot was never recovered. The thieves left virtually no fingerprints, and one key conspirator, nicknamed the King of Keys, vanished with millions. This diamond heist stands out for its sheer audacity and near perfection. Number 1. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Heist. On the night of March 18, 1990, 2 men dressed as Boston police officers fooled the night guards at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum into thinking there was a disturbance. When a guard escorted them inside, the imposters pulled guns and handcuffed both guards in the basement. Over the next 81 minutes, the thieves roamed the galleries, cutting 13 works of art out of their frames and stuffing them into trash bags. They took 5 Degas drawings, a Vermeer, and a Rembrandt, among other priceless pieces. In total, about $500 million worth of art. Crucially, the burglars only targeted paintings and sculptures. They left behind unglazed works, giving the appearance they were searching for something specific. By the time the guards freed themselves and alerted the police, the robbers were gone into the night. The heist is the largest art theft in U.S. history. In the decades since, not a single piece has resurfaced. Despite an ongoing $10 million reward, the FBI has never made an arrest. The empty frames still hang in the museum as a haunting reminder of how 2 thieves walked out with the perfect, most lucrative heist of all time.